Good afternoon. I hope my reaching out comes at a good time. That's my way of saying wishing well to all. I've been deeply engaged in my process recently. There comes a time we talk about mountains and valleys and plateaus. And it's interesting to me that the time I had to be most diligent. I don't want to say the most difficult times, but when I really had to pay the most attention was the plateaus. Climbing the mountain or mountains, step by step, just involved the practice of being here now. Nothing existed other than the next step. And never once would I learned long ago, don't glimpse to the top. Recently, an experienced mountain climber has shared this with me. Pay attention to where you're stepping now. Don't look up, because you'll be probably awestruck. You'll probably see that you have so much farther to go. If you do anything just as a reward, to reward yourself, you can look down and see how far up you've come. But usually for me, that's where the metaphor of really mountain climbing kind of isn't appropriate, doesn't work. Because usually when I look down, I just see kind of a fog, and at best I'll be able to see one or two steps down. And I think this is part of my process of focusing. Letting go of the past, practicing always letting go of the past without anticipating a future. They go hand in hand. Letting go of the past without anticipation, expectations, desires. Just a simple willingness to accept what is coming once it's arrived. That interesting time between when does future become now? Well, for me it's linked with my breathing. By the time I breathe in and breathe out, kind of represents a new now. But there's a lot of subtlety between, there's a time spent, that pause between breathing in and breathing out. That pause that lends itself for me to reflection. So I've been deeply engaged in my process. And that simply means that I'm paying attention, I'm listening, I'm watching, I'm alert, I'm aware. Always looking for patterns. Patterns is just a convenient way for me to link things together in an effort to remember. Remember, this whole process began by remembering what we've forgotten. And interestingly, there comes a time in the process where you have to forget what you remembered. But memory definitely has a role in chronicling. It helps in my process of sorting, filing, storing. Sorting, filing, storing. And that is only effective if there's some type of a way to access. So have to keep your eye on the prize. You have to be able to train yourself to access. And I can do that pretty readily most times. But what I've found when I can't do it, as I've said many times, when I need to know it, I will know it. If I don't need to know it, all games are up, never mind. And it'll come to me, and usually some burst of my most reflective time, which either is somewhere between the deep sleep and the dreaming state, or when my conscious mind is elsewhere, when it's engaged in the process that is effective. The mind is effective. It's designed. It can be utilized for that process of sorting, filing, and storing. So when I'm engaged in that, usually there's something, what I need will pop up. And I laugh because it's always when I needed it. I've been engaged in writing a book, and sometimes you get stuck. Not really writer's block. Writer's block kind of seems like a excuse. But you get to a point where you can't get the word, or you... Interestingly, the word will come more quickly when I'm engaged in one of the videos like this, because I want my pauses to be relevant, to be meaningful for me. It's usually as I let something that escapes my mouth, something that was gifted to me. I'm just a transmitter on some of these things, on most of these things, and the profundity or lack thereof equally will precipitate a pause. So I talked about being engaged, and I've mentioned through. Let's kind of go back, and because there's a contingency, there's a wholeness. I started out several sharings ago about boundless love and what I was feeling about the corona crisis, and talking about out of every crisis comes opportunity for reflection, opportunity to social distance. And it's those of you that have trouble with this, you need to practice. So social distancing is kind of a good excuse. It sounds self-serving, but remember, the social distancing is not only protecting yourself, but it's protecting others from you. And that might be just the most important aspect of social distancing. But I've been engaged, and I wanted to go back. I started out with this boundless love. It was just what I was feeling at the moment. How that it was the avenue available to me to help. I certainly can't change the new normal. And I wouldn't want to if I could, because you don't want to interfere with the natural order of things. And in truth, you really can't. You're flattering yourself. stroking the ego most times to think that you could put a spanner in the works, that you could slow things down, other than what's immediately available to you. Wearing a mask, practicing social distance, and sending out this boundless love. But really, after that, and I've mentioned before that the titles of my talks, although probably don't attract much attention, sometimes they do, maybe I hit on a good one, but they're all meaningful for me, and they were all gifted, and they were all intuitive, and they were all full of the moment. So I went from boundless love, which was kind of just whoa, to dark skies was my very next. From sunshine to shadow. I'm not sure how much time, I'll have to check. It'd be interesting to see how much time there was between boundless love and dark skies. And it happens for a reason. So this was the beginning, from boundless love to dark skies. And then I wanted to talk about something that I've been wanting to talk about for a long time. But in the throes of this virus, this worldwide pandemic, it seemed, I think there was another gap here. It seemed, I went into what I call awakened selfishness, and others I've heard it as enlightened selfishness, and the necessity of taking time for yourself. And I went from this right into something that's kept me busy. Remember, we started boundless love. Then I went into cultivating indifference. So I was highly engaged, consciously putting all my effort into sending love out. It felt good, and as every action that we take has some effect or consequence, and it's not up to me to say how big or small. I don't kid myself. If it had the smallest impact on the heart of the matter, then it was well done, well played. But my message was that I had to learn to not care. And by that I mean my caring was vested in some consequence. My caring was in the hopes that I could contribute to the well-being. And what came to me with this idea of cultivating indifference is that as a reminder that most things are beyond my purview. Beyond the scope It lies in the realms of possibilities, but this cultivating indifference was just to pull back again. So I went from expanded, and then I don't know if it's directly linked, most things are for me, but I went into this dark skies. And I don't mean dark in the emotive sense. I don't mean dark in the sense of depression. I meant in obscuring light. Clouds have no agenda. When a sunny afternoon clouds over, the clouds can't be assigned any agenda. They're just following the nature of their mandate. So too I accepted the dark skies. And then it led me to this cultivation. The first step of growing anything is to cultivate, to prepare the soil, to plant the seed, to fertilize, to water, and stand back and just wait for for nature's miracles. You've done your part. Now you have to let go. You're no longer personally vested. And from this point of indifference in the sense that was not any energy going towards results, consequences, expectation, no energy. That's indifference. Indifference to any outcome. I've done what I could do. In the natural order of things, now it's my turn to step back. And then it left room, this stepping back left room for the next little epiphany, the next little understanding. And I called it No Words But My Own. And it was just kind of recognizing that my time to listen to others, no matter how much I respect and even revere them, the two people of most consequence that I would listen to is Sadhguru and Adyashanti. Sadhguru feels like a kindred soul. I feel like I know him. Of course, I don't. Adyashanti, I feel that I do know him, and in a sense, I do. I did attend one of his earliest teachings, and felt that connection, and have looked to both these men as two things, basically. Some commonalities. When you're going through these experiences, I felt like I needed to read. Am I the only one? Do I have a grip on sanity? Because so many things happen that would be textbook insanity. Insanity in the sense that it flies in the face of everything that you've learned as we loosely term reality. So looking for commonality, and then after the abiding awakening, looking, if I'm honest, this is the words tend to stick in my throat. I wanted validation. especially from my personal teacher, which, other than a thumbs up and a smile, I was not to get. But all of a sudden, I noticed that not only did I not need to, I didn't want to listen to anyone. And like I said, I narrowed it down to two. And I didn't want to listen to them anymore. It's about maturity. I felt finally comfortable in my Buddha skin. It had been 6 years, going on 7, since my 3-day experience. And I've talked about one Buddha year is 6 human years. So I was feeling I had reached my maturity as a Buddha. I was 48-year-old Buddha. I may have said 6 years. It's 8 years. Every Buddha year is 8 years. That makes the math is a little better. Sometimes, sorry, math is not my strong suit. I think I said 6. Well, 6 times 6 would be 36. But I mean 8. And that makes my math 48 years old. 6 times 8. Last time I checked. So each Buddha year is 8 years. 1 year longer than a dog year. I think a dog year is 7 human years, isn't it? I don't know. But a Buddha year, this didn't come from anyone. This is me speaking. I don't think I've ever heard anybody frame it in such terms. But anyway, it's what's worked for me. And all of a sudden I noticed that maturity, not in the sense that I had nothing that anyone could teach me, but the sense, the security, the understanding that my words, for me, in the spirit of this selfishness, my words were all that I needed. In fact, words from others would be more of a distraction, because I'm secure in my understanding. I'm secure in what works for me. And just as I found a time to leave my teacher, to walk away, to stand on my own, I still listened to Adya Shanti, and Sadhguru. I can't honestly say that I made any changes because of them, but I found them comforting, reassuring, welcome, useful, until I didn't. And just as I ran out of questions, from a man of endless questions, I ran out to a man of no questions. And through a period of going through a man of many words to a man of no words, I came to this place where I understood that my words, again, with the big caveat, for me, were all that I needed, and that spending time listening to the others took away from the work that I had to do. So this is where I came to no words but mine, no words but my own. And then the next thing I experienced was this separation as an observer sitting on a riverbank. And it's called Sitting by a River and watching life in the infancy, in the infinite continuation, the flowing of life. Somehow I could observe. Witness is the key word as I'm building up to witness this word. So I can witness. It's impossible, as I said at the time. I can't separate myself from life, but somehow I was able to observe, to witness, to watch. Maybe that's the place of stillness that they talk about, that I used to crave so much and essentially gave up on ever obtaining because my monkey mind was incessant. But maybe this just came to me as I'm saying the words. Maybe this ability to separate from the inseparable in order to simply just be, just watch. Watch without judgment, watch without desire, watch without connection, watch without purpose, watch without goal. Just simply sitting and watching. And I think in this process, rather than it made me exceptional, it enhanced my continual immersion in my ordinariness. Separate. There was nothing about life that lacked because I had created a separation. Life didn't lack. Life didn't need me. It's the other way around. I need life, don't I? I wouldn't be here sharing with you if I hadn't sustained the body, and I'm still breathing the oxygen and enjoying this wonderful world, no matter how I find it. That's within my control. I can choose to enjoy. I can't do anything about the condition other than doing my participation in loving, understanding, forgiving. So this witness idea really was becoming paramount. And witness, sitting by the river, enjoying just the simplicity, probably the clarity that comes from silence. Because I could hear the river, but very little. I guess probably, if I think about it, I probably let my monkey mind just release my monkey mind to go in the river. And that is part and parcel of all that is. All our monkey minds are somewhere in the soup, the chemical, electrical soup. And maybe that's the clarity. Maybe I'm tasting. I told you that I'm sharing a process, and I don't even know where I am in this process, and I have no idea or no investment. No, I'm not vested in any kind of outcome. I'm just have no choice but to experience and try to put my words around, try to share this experience. And even in sharing, talking through it, as you've seen, as we've talked, and as I've talked, little bits of understanding just came from sharing, from speaking out the words. So, what these steps have led me to: dark skies, awakened selfishness, cultivating indifference, no words but my own, sitting by the river witnessing. It's all one word came to me, writ large, across the horizon: disengage. That's what I wanted to talk about today. That's where my process has been leading me to disengage, because from the boundless love, it became apparent the process that I had to go through to this point is that I was too engaged. So step by step was all to the end goal, to reach this disengagement. The total lack of identification with anything, with anyone. To what purpose? To what purpose? That yet remains to be seen. Just as we were talking about yesterday, we were talking about that remains to be seen. What a beautiful phrase it is. It's meaningless, but that remains to be seen. And it's so appropriate in this particular occasion for me. So, disengage. And really, that wasn't remains to be seen. It was be that as it may. Amen. Be that as it may. What a beautiful phrase. We played, three of us, my brother, another brother. We played with that as we frolicked in this beautiful emerald, crystal clear stream in the mountains. Be that as it may. I think this is becoming my new mantra. Be that as it may. The ability to not attach importance to anything or anyone. Be that as it may.